going through a challenging emotion, whether it's at work or in my personal life, when I can step back, I just feel there's a lot more space. And sometimes in the midst of feeling anger and being able to be like, oh wait, this isn't me. There's a bit of joy in being able to see that, and it's like, oh, I'm practicing. This is like there's a bit of joy there, and it's kind of interesting to be able to feel that joy in the midst of experiencing a challenging emotion. So I am looking forward to going through the book again with all of you.
Thanks, Kim. Yeah. Sorry, Mariana, you were going to go?
Yeah. Oh, somebody. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. I'm coming into this a bit innocently and openly. A good friend suggested it because she had taken the course with Lori, I think. And I think I mentioned last time we were doing the intro that, you know, when gifts like that come into your life, I try to kind of say yes. You know, why not? I don't know really what will come of it. I do know that last year when I was having a bit of a difficult time and having changed jobs and so on, one of the nicest things I did was spend some time in Plum Village, Thai's community, if people know. And I don't know, it just in 1 week, it really made a huge difference in my life. So I also think there's something really beautiful about people working on this together. I think there's something about the group energy that really helps me in my life. And I think it helps, I don't know, the world maybe generally. I feel like it's multiplied many times over. So while I do a lot of things on my own, I love it when we can do it together as a group.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Thanks. And Teresa, or sorry, Denise, you were going to go?
Hello, yes, Denise here. Well, I'll be short. I don't really have any expectations. I'm really here because Laurie speaks so highly of this book and how it changed, changed his life. And now hearing Kim, I'm, even doubly excited. And to tell you the truth, I haven't read the book yet. I got it recently in the mail. I was going to join the first cohort, but I didn't have the book. So having it now, and I've read the first 4 chapters. So this is all very new to me, although I have been practicing in the Thich Nhat Hanh style of, meditation for the last little while. So I'm just really looking forward to seeing what it has to offer. And as an educator, I must say I'm feeling not any small amount of anxiety about the return to school situation. So the idea of letting go, particularly of anxiety around that situation, I figure, hey, well, maybe that's going to be helpful. The timing of this will lead me into the school year, so it should be an interesting. I'm hoping this will be a bit of a support in helping me get through the first little bit, applying this in some way. Unless I'm totally misunderstanding what it's all about, but I'm sure I'll get something beneficial from it. Thank you.
Thanks, Denise.
Sure, I can go. My name is Melanie, and I took one other course with Lori in the past. And yes, there were a number of Mickey Singer quotes that really that idea of finding joy, which is always somewhat fleeting, is really intriguing. And when I am able to let go at certain times, I think last course I referenced my daughter who's only 5, and so when I'm able to be very present is often in her presence. And I also did find that the meditations where we sort of observed thoughts and emotions, or even running through the senses, I always found those left me feeling quite, it's sort of the beginning of that ability to sort of distance or see that distance. So yeah, I'd like the learning to continue. So I'm looking forward to it.
Great, thanks, Melanie. Hey, Pip, were you going to go?
Yeah, I was just unmuting myself. I can go. Hi, guys. I'm Philippa or Pip, and it's great to meet you all. I am like him. I took it in the first cohort as well and found it so beneficial in lots of ways, finding space, being able to let go and actually be aware of myself doing the practice. So like Kim touched on, this is really exciting. I definitely have had that experience as well. And the 6 weeks course I found gave me a big jump start with reading the book throughout to kind of get a good grasp and handle on the course. So now I just want to deepen that practice and keep reinforcing it because I found it so helpful. And I was going to say something else. Can't remember exactly. Oh yeah, I started reading the book again, and I'm like blown away. I'm getting so much more out of it, like the second time I'm reading it now. So it's absolutely so exciting. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Pip. Yeah, Leslie? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Leslie. Nice to meet everyone. So I actually wanted to take this the first time around, but it was full, so I ended up reading the book on my own, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm really excited to be here, and I'm just hoping to learn how to really, I guess, enjoy every day a little bit more and learn how to appreciate the small moments.
Great. Thanks.
Hi,
Deborah? Yeah?
glad to be with all of you. And I too wanted to come in the first cohort, but it didn't work out. I had a conflict, so I didn't. So here I am. And I just want to add it to my toolkit. And anything, just there are really good times in one's life and lesser. And I just want to have all that I can ready to go, especially as the years progress. Thank you.
Thanks, Deborah. Mark, yeah?
Hi, everyone. My name is Mark, and I did not want to be in the first cohort.
Oh, Mark, you're, I can't hear you.
You're frozen.
Oh,
That's it.
oh, we didn't hear it. You froze.
You couldn't hear anything that I said?
No.
Oh, hi, everyone. I'm Mark. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Do I feel like I'm in a Fido commercial? I went through that whole exercise and no one heard it.
Yeah, I think it was the internet. You just froze.
Hi, I'm Mark. I really hate technology. I am not a fan of Zoom. I wish we were doing this in person, to be honest. I am a complete novice, and I have started reading the book, and I'm super curious to find out more about the book. And I'm also curious why it sort of looks like the cover of Black Beauty. And that's it.
Okay.
Did everyone hear that? Wave. I'm on my phone, so I can't see anyone.
Okay. Okay, and Dana, I think you're the only one. You've got the last one.
I haven't either.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Sorry, Sean, if you want to go.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sean, and this book came across my way. Somebody lent it to me thinking that I would enjoy it. And then when I heard there was the course, I had been planning on reading the book this August anyhow. And with the course coming up, I thought, what a wonderful way to connect with others and to go perhaps a bit deeper than I would have on my own. I'm interested in the style of Thich Nhat Hanh meditation. I have a different style of meditation that I do, and I'm specifically presently interested in creating more space between my triggers, my emotional triggers, and finding a neutrality within that space so that I am proud of my choices that I make after that space. So yeah, it's a whole bunch of other things too, but that will suffice.
Great, thanks.
I'm Dana. I came across the book. I'm in a psychotherapy program, and one of my classmates, and I think a couple of friends too, were sharing how much it had influenced them. And I got an audiobook version over the winter, spring, and was listening to it and feeling like, yes, this resonated with so many of the different teachings I've been following. And wow, practicing it is a whole nother thing. So yeah, enjoyed listening and connecting on a more intellectual level. And then when I found this course, I thought, yes, this would be really ripe in my process and really good to have community and accountability and the experiential practice together. I'm excited to dig in.
Great, thanks, Dana. Okay, so so let's do a meditation. We'll do a fairly short one, maybe 10 or 15 minutes. And generally throughout the course, we'll do like a 15-minute meditation. And just so you know, the idea is after the meditation, then we'll start going over the chapters. We'll do a couple of chapters. We'll have a stretch. And then we'll do some breakout groups so you can discuss things in pairs. And then we'll finish the readings for the week in terms of just going over the chapters, and then go over a general method of how to let go, which Mickey sprinkles throughout the book, and then we'll do a brief writing exercise, and then I'll just go over the home practice, and that'll take us to 9 o'clock. So hopefully we'll get through it all. But one way or another, it doesn't really matter. For sure, we'll go over how to let go, because that's the key thing that we're going to be practicing from week to week. Okay, so finding a comfortable position where you can be relaxed and yet alert. You can have your eyes closed if you like, or half open in a receptive gaze. We'll start with one sound of the bell. Once again, allowing the attention to sink deeply into the body, noticing sensation throughout the body. And with each out breath, allowing the body to relax to whatever extent it wants to relax. And letting it all in. There may be pleasant sensation or unpleasant or neutral. There may be areas of the body with no sensation. Just allowing your body to be exactly as it is. And wherever there's sensation, noting the qualities of that sensation. So there may be vibration or pressure. There may be tension or heat. Welcoming it all to the best of your ability. And although you're doing your best to keep your attention on your body, being aware of the body breathing, the mind will inevitably wander, the attention will wander, and that's no problem at all. So whenever you notice that your attention has left the body breathing, then that's a moment to celebrate. It's a moment where you've gone from forgetfulness to awareness. So when you notice that, gently bringing the attention back to the body breathing. Just becoming aware of sensations and aware of when you're breathing in and when you're breathing out. And we do this over and over again. We attend to the body, the attention wanders, we notice, and we bring the attention back. And every time we bring it back, we strengthen our mindfulness muscles. And you may notice that in your experience of the body breathing, that there's some resistance. Perhaps some unpleasant sensations that you are kind of using your will to push away, not wanting to experience them, wanting them to go away. So whenever you notice that sort of resistance, that sort of aversion, and just allowing the body to relax and letting go of that resistance. So perhaps saying to yourself, opening, or yes, just a silent wish to fully experience whatever's there. So you may want things to happen the way you want them to happen. You may want the unpleasant to go away. You may want the pleasant to stay. Just letting that go. Allowing the experience to unfold as it wants and not as you want. So letting go of control, letting go of trying to steer your experience. Just relaxing and saying yes to whatever's there. Yes. Yes to this tension in my heart. Yes to whatever's there. Yes to this restlessness. Yes to this sleepiness or dreaminess. Whatever's there that's unwanted, saying yes to it. Allowing it to move and to touch the depths of your being. And now I'm going to give you a phrase, a question to ask of yourself. And we're asking not to try and find an answer, not to use the intellect to answer, We just ask the question and then just allow whatever happens to happen. We're not trying to make anything happen. We're just asking the question and noticing what comes next. So the first question we'll ask is, what is this experience? What is this experience? Just repeating it in your head every few breaths. Continuing to attend to the body breathing. What is this experience? And now the next question. What is having this experience? What is having this experience? Thoughts may come up, just allow them to be in the background, continuing to attend to the body. What is having this experience? And now the last question, who notices this experience? Who notices? Who notices? Good. Now, shifting our attention from the body to mental talk space. So saying in your head, hello, hello, just noticing where in space do you hear that hello. And try shouting that hello. Hello. And now whispering it softly. Hello. And now not purposely saying anything, but just listening to mental talk space. Seeing what comes up there. We're not trying to make anything happen. We're just observing, allowing whatever's there to be there. It's like we're sitting on the bank of a river, watching the river go by, and our thoughts are like leaves floating on the river. And we're just watching them go by. And maybe a lot of leaves or not many or none at all. Doesn't matter. And if you fall into the river, if you get lost in thought, no problem. Whenever you notice that, then just climb out of the river onto the bank and go back to watching mental talk space. For most people, it's around the ears or the mouth or somewhere in between. Good. And now letting go of this meditation, and we'll end with one sound of the bell. So allowing the eyes to open, and if you want to move your body, if you want to massage something or stretch something, go ahead. Bringing kindness to the body, whatever it wants, just indulge it. So, does anyone have any questions about that or anything they want to share about that? Okay. So there's pre-recorded guided meditations. So I'll send an email after the class, and it'll have the home practice, and it'll have the the link to the guided meditations and the other resources. So you'll be able to practice a meditation similar to this for this week. So we'll go over that in home practice. So if there's no questions, I'll go right into the book. So chapter 1, the voice in your head. So has anyone here noticed the voice in your head? Anyone? Yeah. So what have you noticed? Does anyone want to share what they've noticed about the voice in your head? And when I say the voice in your head, I don't mean all mental talk. I mean the unintentional mental talk, the stuff that just sort of pops up on its own. So, yeah, Sean?
So I noticed that it can have a quality of negativity for a while, and then sometimes when I notice the negativity, I'm able to find some neutrality, and then but I think for me, my tendency is towards negativity. And yeah.
Yeah. Other people notice that? Anyone?
Yeah, I was going to say the same, negativity, but also self-criticism. And when you do notice it, it's actually a bit of a gift, because then you get a chance to have a conversation with it, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's nonstop.
Yeah. Yeah. Min, you want to say something?
Yeah, like I just want to kind of mention about how the voice is kind of connected back to our meditation. It's like when you say, how does it affect you when you have loud voices? And I find that my sensation, like my ear, like actually pick up the sound more. But when the voices actually within me becomes quiet, then my body actually direct this energy towards the breath. Like if that makes sense. Like I find, yeah, like when something is loud, right? Like I almost like don't hear it. But when something is soft, then my body is quiet and I am able to actually go to my breath.
Right. So you're saying you're less distracted. Is that
Yes.
right? It's, yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this idea that, you know, people's that our unintentional thoughts tend to be negative, that's pretty universal. That's kind of our survival mechanism, I guess, to focus on the negative. And in fact, there was a Harvard study that found that our minds are wandering, so just unintentional thoughts about half the time, and that when our minds are wandering, we're less happy than when they're not. So, yeah. So, you know, Mickey talks about the voice in your head and how, and you know, and it's when he's talking about the voice in your head, he means the unintentional voice, the one that's just sort of there narrating, commenting on everything, you know, kind of, you know, we see the world outside, and then we narrate it. We kind of, you know, we try and get comfortable with whatever's going on outside, and this voice comes up to try and make us comfortable, because generally we're not comfortable, right? We think we need to, our mind thinks, you know, this is what I want, this is what I don't want. I'm going to look around and I'm going to try and make everything as I want it. And when it's not as I want it, then I need to, and I've got this model of how things should be. And so I'm going to, when things are not in accordance with the model, I'm going to try and make them fit, right? And when they are in accordance with the model, I'm going to note that, right? And boost my model, build up my model. And the other big thing is that the voice tends to come from a place of discomfort, right? So I'm not saying necessarily a big discomfort, but generally the mind starts talking on its own whenever it's not quite thrilled with where it's at. You know, it's like when you're watching, you know, you turn the corner and there's this beautiful sunset, and you look at it and you just feel happy and content and maybe some wonder, and there's nothing going on, like there's no talk in your mind because you're in this blissful place, right? But then but most of the time we're not in that place. We're always sort of feeling a little uncomfortable, right? A little like, oh, you know, what's going to happen next, or what's going on that I need to worry about. So that's kind of where it comes from. And really where it comes from underneath that, it's all our patterns of mind, right? All these, which, you know, Mickey calls blockages or past impressions, or you can think of habits of mind. You know, these things are constantly getting triggered, and that's what causes the unintentional thinking to come up for the most part. So really, we're just trying to find a comfortable place. That's why the voice is going. And in order to, you know, often the voice is talking and we're not aware of it. Like we hear it, we're in it, but we're not aware of it as a thought. We're just sort of kind of hypnotized by it, right? It's just us, right? It's just me. It's just me talking in my head. And so Mickey encourages us to actually notice the voice in our head, right? So even though it's going much of the time, we often don't notice that it's going. In order to see it, what we can do is remember that we are not the voice. We're the one who notices the voice, right? So like when I asked you in the meditation to say the word hello in your head, as soon as you say hello, hello, then you can instantly notice that you're the one who's noticing that word, right? You're the one who's noticing the hello. And so there's in every experience, in every moment, there's a subject and an object in our experience. So the subject is the awareness, the consciousness, if you will, the witness, the one who sees or hears or feels or smells or tastes or touches whatever's going on. And then the object is, whatever we see, hear, smell, taste, touch. And that includes feeling our emotions, right? So our emotions are the objects. Hearing our thoughts, the thoughts are the objects. Feeling the bodily sensations, so the bodily sensations are the objects. And we are the one who notices, right? And that's why we ask in that meditation, we ask that question, who notices, or what is having this experience? Because what that does is it creates space. It kind of points the finger at the subject. And as soon as you realize that you're aware of this thing, then you create space. You realize, I'm not this thing. I'm not this thought. I'm not this emotion. I'm not this bodily sensation. I'm the one who's aware of it. Right? And that's really, we're going to practice this over and over and over and over again through this course. But that's an essential tool, if you will, or an essential aspect of our experience that we're cultivating, is this sense of knowing, right? This sense of observing, of being the one who's aware, the one who's watching. Okay. So that's chapter 1. Did anyone have any questions about chapter 1, or anything that they read that that you weren't clear on, or that you read and went, that's wrong, or anything like that? Nick, you're muted.
Absolutely. So it's kind of I don't know why I'm feeling very resistant, which is great in a certain way. I read chapter 1 and 2 while I was in a very convivial place on a dock at a cottage, and I was so wound up after I read it, I couldn't speak to anybody for the rest of the day. And I thought, oh, this is good. I'm gonna have to read the rest of this damn book. Excuse my language. So yeah, very provoked. And it's not only who's noticing the experience,
yeah,
who's experiencing it. And suffering is suffering. And so I found Mickey's tone a bit sort of, voila, here it is. Don't you get it now? So I'm here with joy, don't get me wrong. And I'm sort of loving how irritated and provoked I'm getting. And I'm actually very surprised, if I'm honest with myself. And that just tells me this is pushing many good buttons. So in terms of my questions about this, first of all, I'm very aware that some people have read the whole book and are doing the course twice, and I haven't read the whole book yet. So I'm hesitant to jump in, but I have to say that I'm rebelling against how facile I feel Mickey makes it.
Yeah, yeah. And he does, I mean, in a sense, like he makes it sound easy, and it's not. It's not. I mean, I think he makes a really compelling case why learning to let go is so important, but the actual learning to let go is difficult. I mean, that's what I find. And just for some background, Mickey, in his other book, which is his autobiography, sort of autobiography, it's kind of how he's practiced throughout his life since he started practicing in his early 20s. And he basically, you know, had this experience. He was not a practitioner, like he didn't practice mindfulness or any spiritual practice. He, you know, was doing his PhD in economics. He was sitting around with his friend, and all of a sudden he noticed his thoughts. So, I mean, you know, we all have this voice in our head, but we don't notice it most of the time. We're just sort of, it's just us. But he was noticing it, but from this, you know, from this vantage point of awareness, if you will. And it started driving him crazy because, you know, this voice just wouldn't shut up, right? It just went on and on and on and on, commenting on everything. And it drove him crazy. But the bottom line is that he fell into perfect mindfulness of thoughts. You know, when you're trying to be, you know, we did towards the end of the meditation, we did the awareness of thoughts, at least of the mental talk. There's also mental images. But anyway, he fell into, so when you try and notice your thoughts and just be with them, it's so easy to get, you know, to get caught in them and to just go off on some, you know, thought, you know, some thought festival, and completely forget that, you know, completely lose the meta awareness, if you will, the awareness that this is a thought and this is another thought, and they're just thoughts, and we get caught in the content. So, so he's got this kind of big leg up on everybody because he's got this perfect mindfulness of thoughts, right? So on the one hand, it's like, yeah, he makes it sound easy because I think he's found it fairly easy. And he doesn't even teach the meditation part, the mindfulness part. He's like, you can do that on your own. I want to tell you how it works. But the fact that he has this perfect mindfulness of thoughts it really has allowed him to figure out like what happens in our mind and how to work with that, right? So it starts with the assumption that you've got mindfulness, right? Mindfulness is just meta awareness, right? It's that, you know, I'm breathing in and I know I'm breathing in, right? I'm having this thought and I know that it's a thought. I'm having this sensation and I know that I'm the one having the sensation, right? So that's a whole, and that's kind of a, you know, you can't practice any of this unless you have some awareness, right? If you're just lost in thought, you're not going to be able to practice anything. So that's why I think it's important to practice, to have the meditation component to this. You know, but also it's a lot, like you actually, once you start practicing it, it does get easier, you know. But I've been practicing for 3 years and, you know, now it's getting easier, but it's in 6 weeks, you know, you're gonna definitely have some challenges. But you'll also have some, you know, I think some, you know, some aha moments. So that's one aspect of it. I also wanted to comment, Nick, on you said, you know, suffering is suffering. And I wonder what if you could expand on that.
Well, I don't want to take the talking stick too much. I'm really here with great humility, but regardless of how you experience it, you're still suffering. Even if you're aware of it and able to give yourself some distance, you're suffering. Or a part of you or something you're projecting is suffering. So that's I think that's about it for now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, what I'm hearing there is basically, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't want to suffer.
Well, Laurie, you and I know each other from prior to this, and you know I've practiced for many years understanding that suffering is part of existence. I'm not questioning that, and but I am questioning so far and rebelling against the fact that if I distance myself from that suffering, somehow the suffering disappears. And yeah, and
Yeah.
it's self and non-self and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
let me sit and learn.
okay.
Yeah.
And so, and I'm not saying, and he's not saying, and nobody's saying that anybody wants to suffer, or that suffering isn't unpleasant. But the kind of the most important thing to get in this course is that it's the resistance to suffering that makes it worse. Because when we're talking about letting go, what a lot of people think of, and we're going to do interviews, like one-on-one consultations as part of this course. And what I really noticed in the one-on-ones is that even though we say, oh yeah, I'm letting go of resistance, in the moment, what we tend to be doing is, we want the discomfort to stop, right? And of course we want the discomfort to stop, but as a practice, the practice is to open to it, to want to experience it fully, as opposed to wanting it to go away. So people think, oh, I want to let it go, as in I want it to go away. Actually, the practice of letting go is letting it be, right? Letting it unfold as it wants, not as we want, right? So there was some of that guidance in the meditation. And that's the, that's the essential kind of, turn that we need to do in our practice is it's like, yeah, I don't want to suffer, but this is here. I have two choices. I can try and push it away, and if I do that, I give it energy. And not only do I give it energy, but I wind up storing it inside of me. Or I can just experience the suffering, experience the pain, and let it pass through me. And then it's gone. So it wasn't fun to experience it, but it's way better to experience it than to hold it inside or to fight with it. So that's kind of the basic, that's really the most basic thing in this course and in Mickey's teachings, is whatever you resist, persist, right? If you resist the suffering, you store it inside, and it just stays in there and just gets triggered over and over again. And the only way to release it is to experience it. And, we all, the mind, our reptile brain says, no, I don't want to experience this, right? So this is about learning the benefits of experiencing it, right? And one thing that I find really helps is that knowing that experiencing it will allow it to, to not stay inside or to not go inside, or to lessen whatever's inside. Knowing that, there's actually joy. As you can have joy and pain at the same time, right? Thich Nhat Hanh says this, right? My joy and pain are one. And what I find in my experience is that when I'm able to open to it, to the suffering, like to the pain, to the tension, to the difficult emotion, the sadness, the loneliness, whatever it might be, the fear, that I have that awareness that I'm transforming, I'm transforming my mind, right? I'm letting it go. I'm letting it be. And so there's a joy there with the pain. And it's a very different experience than pain and I'm trying to resist the pain. When I'm resisting the pain, it's horrible. When I'm opening to it, it's not so horrible. It's not pleasant, but it's much better. And I'm much better off in the future because I haven't stored the thing. So that's the course in a nutshell. So we can end here. Let's move on to chapter 2. Gotten a little behind, but any questions on that? Okay. So chapter 2, your inner roommate, Mickey basically goes on a little more about the voice in your head. And I think the key thing from this chapter is that he talks about this idea of inner problem versus outer problem, right? So somebody says something to you that bothers you. They make some snarky comment or a little put down or whatever they do, it bothers you, right? And right away, you know, like when that happens to me, it's, you know, I start thinking to myself, oh, why did they say that? What am I going to do about this? Should I be talking to them about this? What am I going to tell them? How can I approach this? You know, oh, they said this, they're wrong, and here's why, and da 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 da. And I, you know, and the mind gets you know, I get triggered, and I think that I need to fix what's going on between me and this person. I need to set them straight, right? I need to come up with the answer. I need to take action. But my big problem actually is not outside of me. The big problem is inside of me, because this has triggered me, and now I feel all this, you know, frustration and anger, and maybe it touched some shame in me, or some feeling of lack, some feeling of incompetency, or you know, some aspect of me that's not that I don't like. So you know, something happens in the experience, we get triggered on the inside, and immediately we try and fix it on the outside, right? But the first thing we need to fix is what's inside, what's going on inside. And when we can fix that inner problem and get to a state of clarity and, you know, peace, if you will, then we can deal with the outer problem, if there even is an outer problem, right? You know, somebody might have said something innocently and it triggered us, and I don't have to fix anything, right? Or, you know, often we get triggered by the weather, the lineup, you know, the driver, the slow driver, you know, there's so many things that go on that bother us that there's nothing to fix. It's just, the only problem is that we're bothered, right? But generally, we think our happiness and our suffering comes from outside. And so when we get triggered, we look outside and go, what was the cause of that? I need to fix that. But the primary cause was what's inside us, what's stored inside us, right? And so, you know, what chapter 2 is, a key aspect of chapter 2 is to say, when a problem's disturbing you, don't ask, what should I do about it? Ask, what part of me is disturbed, right? Look inside and go, oh, gee, what's going on inside of me that's disturbed? And you don't even have to figure it out. It's just like, it's just asking who notices. Oh, who's noticing this, right? And then you realize, oh, right, it's this thought. You know, you switch to, you go into your seat of awareness, if you will, as Mickey calls it, and you're like, oh, I had this thought. And then, you know, and I'm having this emotion. And then you can say, oh, okay, I'm just going to relax. I'm just going to experience this moment. I'm just going to let the thoughts happen, but I'm not going to give them any weight. They're telling me that I need to fix the situation outside. I'm just going to ignore them. And I'm just going to sit here in my seat of awareness and just sort of let it pass through me. You know? So, and that's obviously not the case with all situations. Sometimes there's something outside that really needs your attention, and it needs your attention fast, right? You know, your child is running across the street. You need to take care of that, right? But lots of what is going on, either we don't have to do anything about it, or we don't have to fix it right this moment, right? We can allow ourselves a few moments or even longer to get to a place of clarity, right? I won't say peace because peace is a, that's maybe, maybe peace, but at least to get to where you're not so bothered and you can think clearly, right? That the reptile, that the prefrontal cortex comes back online, right? After getting flipped off. Um, so that's a big part of it. And then, he basically says, this voice in your head, if you watch it, you'll see that this inner roommate of yours is not giving you good advice, right? In fact, giving you really bad advice. Um, and I've noticed that in my own life many, many, many times, right? I mean, when COVID hit, like say a month or two in, I guess about 2 months in, I was sitting on my deck and I was meditating. And, I started thinking about nature and wanting to be in nature and how I'm trapped in the city and I don't have a car and maybe I should buy a car and how can I get into nature? And it just became this big thing. And then I was like, wait a minute. This is not a problem I need to fix. I'm just bothered. I can just experience this being bothered. And, yeah, when I get an opportunity, I'll go into nature, but I don't have to turn my life upside down to find nature, now, right? It's just a thought. It's just a desire, right? That's a case of a, if you will, a positive thing, right? A desire for something positive, but it's still driving me just as crazy as a negative thing. So, just being able to say, wait a minute, who notices this? Just sitting in that seat of awareness, watching the thoughts, watching the emotions and going, oh, wait a minute. Yeah. The biggest problem now is my desire. The biggest problem is all these thoughts going round and round, telling me I have to figure out right now how I can get into nature. And I don't care what it costs. I want my nature now, right? So, anyway, so that's the inner roommate. Any questions on that or any comments on that chapter? Yeah, Denise?
Yeah, I just wonder, I get the nature of most of these thoughts and how they suck up the energy and suck me, I guess, the noticer, up into the thoughts. But I wonder sometimes if there's more than one roommate, or maybe that's kind of getting too schizophrenic or something. But,
Yeah.
it seems to me sometimes the quality of the thoughts are different. And like most of the thoughts are pretty mundane and just kind of like,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. I should do this. What am I going to do now? What am I going to have for lunch? And blah, blah, blah. But then all of a sudden, sometimes there's almost like an epiphany or a flash of inspiration. It's like, whoa, where did that come from? And, or,
Yeah.
brings you up to a different level,
Yeah. And
maybe he gets into that further in the book because I've only read the first 4 chapters. So can you say something about that?
Yeah. I mean, even in this chapter, actually, he says, what part of me is being disturbed, right? So, I mean, you're absolutely right. Our mind is not a unitary mind. We have all these different, even when you look at the brain, I mean, it's not a unitary mind. There's all these aspects to it. And in a way, these are all these stored past impressions, right? We have a stored past impression that says, I want this, I don't want that, I don't like this, I like that. And all of these things, are kind of each their own little individual personality, right? A little aspect of our psyche. So we definitely have a divided mind. And, often I'll say to myself, oh, I really want this thing, but I also want this thing. And they're kind of, at odds with each other. And which one is the real me, right? And Mickey says, none of them are the real you. None of them. You are the one who is aware of those thoughts. You are the one who's aware of those preferences. You are not your thoughts. You are not your preferences. You know, oh, I really want this, but I also want this. I don't know which one is the deeper one. Neither of them are deeper. What's deep is your awareness. What's deep is the part of you that your consciousness, right? The part that sees it all, right? But we identify with our thoughts. We identify with our patterns. We think this is me, right? I like nature. That's who I am. I like nature, right? But it's just a thought, you know? It's not me. Yeah, Min?
Yeah, so I have a question then. So there are no fixes then?
No fixes? Yeah.
There are no fixes, or is there?
Well, it's more like there are no problems.
So so the problem does not exist then?
Well, I mean, you know, and so I think it's important to remember this teaching. It's a Buddhist teaching, skillful means, right? Which is that there's no absolute truth to any of this. They're all, you know, in context to help with this or to help with that. So, you know, for example, so when I say there's no problems, you know, they're only a problem if you, the situation is only a problem if you make it a problem. Well, obviously that doesn't apply to all situations, right? I mean, you know, you get a disease, it's a problem. You got to deal with it, right? You know, you lose your job, you have no money. It's a problem. You got to deal with it. So we're not saying there's no problems, but the issue is that most of what bothers us is only a problem because it's bothering us, right? And even the things where we have to fix something outside, we get so bothered by the fact we have to fix it that, again, it's that being bothered part that is the real suffering. So actually fixing it, you know, it's fixable, right? You don't have to suffer in fixing it, but the mind does, because we have all these stored past impressions that get triggered, right? So, you know, physical pain is physical pain, right? And, you know, you want to, like, it's not pleasant, and, you know, and nobody's saying that physical pain is not a problem, but so much of what happens is not a problem. You know, it's maybe something that needs to be worked on. Like you know, again, like, you know, I need to make money. Okay, I need to make money. But the worrying about it is what causes the suffering, right? So yeah, and later on in the book, I mean, Mickey, the book, by the way, kind of does this. It goes over the same things over and over again, but from different perspectives, different angles, different depths. And so, you know, but he talks a lot about the fact that we make things a problem. Overwhelmingly, we make things problems when they don't have to be problems, you know? Yeah, Dana?
Sorry, just muting. I'm curious, this is a comment about the chapter and my feelings the first time going through the book. And I'm wondering, as you're saying that the book goes as a spiral, if he does address this or it may be outside of the scope of his teachings. But for me, coming from a psychotherapeutic lens, and I study Gestalt, and one of the like foundational parts of Gestalt is it's similarly a letting go. It's like an acceptance of what is, and the idea of not, that if we try to change, whatever we're trying to change stays stuck. And so acceptance is the place to start from. And yet with that, there's this nuance that I feel I miss in what he's saying, that to say somebody says something, it pings something in me, external thing does the pinging, and then my mind starts to go. That if I go to a place of immediately, this is an internal issue, I need to let it go, that can based on the particulars of my history, that may actually reinforce an old story of, I need to be the one to deal with this. I need to quiet what's going on in me, versus being able to say, oh, interesting, I'm feeling a resistance to what this person did, and I'm feeling a resistance to expressing that resistance. So the opportunity to let go of the second level and be like, hey, I don't like when you talk to me like that, and letting that come out, and that can actually be a healthy expression if we let go of the resistance to what sort of naturally wants to come out. And when I hear of him talking about the success he's had in business and all these things that have come from his practice, my sense is he must be sort of flowing through life like that, where he's letting go of the blocks to what wants to come out, but that when it's this sort of internal resistance of frustration, that I didn't feel him talking about that dance quite as much. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it's in a way, it's kind of, and this is like a double-edged sword in Buddhism as well. It's, you know, on the one hand, taking responsibility, but on the other hand, not blaming oneself, right? So, and basically it starts with the proposition, what he says is, we have no control over other people. We have no control over the world. The only thing we have control over is our inner world, you know? And so that is a much better venue to operate, like to actually exert influence than the outside world. He's not saying don't exert influence outside, but he's saying recognize that whatever you're doing on the outside, you're not going to be able to control it. You may, you know, it may work, it may not work, but you're not going to be able to control it. Anything can happen outside. There's so much more going on outside that you have no control over. But inside, you have a lot of control, you know? Well, over time, like you have a control to train your mind, right? You don't have control over what, you know, like you can't stop your thoughts, you can't stop your emotions, like in the moment, right? You can't stop the bodily sensations in the moment. But you can train the mind. You can train yourself. So, and mostly what you can do is that through letting go, and letting go, the flip side of letting go is letting in, right? It's fully experiencing this. So it's like somebody says something, it bothers me. The most important thing is to fully experience that moment, right? And this is totally in accordance with Thich Nhat Hanh's teachings. It's fully experiencing this moment. If I can fully experience this moment and not resist it coming in, not resist it, you know, causing my heart to go, like the emotions to go, whatever, right? If I can just kind of flow with this moment, with what's going on, without resisting it, then I don't store it. And if I don't store it, then you know, I don't have this trigger for the future, and because I have less blockages of my natural, you know, joy and enthusiasm and love and peace, it can flow. Because you know, the other aspect of this is that we don't have to go looking for happiness, joy, peace. It's all there. We just have to remove what blocks it. So what he's saying is you have control over these blockages, in the sense that, you know, you can choose to resist or you can choose to experience. If you choose to experience it, you know, no blockage. And then you get joy, and then you get peace, and then you get love. So, you know, whatever's going on between you and this one or that one, you know, he's actually saying nothing about how you should deal with that. What he's saying is this is how you should deal with what's going on inside.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Could I follow up from that, just in the sense of, you said earlier, most of what we're talking about or reacting to is not a problem, you know, But what would you say, you know, following up on the comment about histories and so on, maybe it was a problem at some point, say when we were a child. So the trigger is a memory or a remembrance or something that might have protected us or helped us at one point. But now, you know, given that this situation today is not helpful.
Yeah, yeah.
So how do you be compassionate to that, I guess?
Well, I mean, I think you can be compassionate and say, hey, you know, when I was 5 years old, I couldn't handle this. And, you know, just get in touch with the 5-year-old child. I mean, that's a Thich Nhat Hanh practice, but it's very effective to just really, you know, because, you know, we don't tend to, you know, judge our, you know, a 5-year-old, right? We just want the 5-year-old to be okay. And, but, you know, what Mickey says, and Mickey, by the way, Mickey is the Ayn Rand of spiritual teachers, right? He's total, like, you know, I'm not saying he's right-wing politically, but he's very much like, you know, if you have enough will, if you have enough motivation, you can do this. The only issue is whether you have enough will. You know, don't give me any of your, you know, like he says many times in his talks, he says, this thing happened when you were 6 years old, and now you're 46 years old, and it's still bothering you. It wasn't your fault that it happened when you were 6, but it's your fault that you kept it inside for 40 years. Right?
Ouch.
So, but I mean, that's assuming that you know, he's not saying that in a nasty way. He's saying like all you have to do is not resist it. When it comes up, don't resist it. You know, it'll be difficult to experience, but that, you know, he says it's like a thorn in your arm, right? You can protect the thorn and not let anything touch it because it hurts when anybody touches the thorn, or you can pull it out, experience the pain, and then it's gone. So, you know, and for sure, like, you can't just turn off, you know, he's not saying you wipe the memory or anything like that. You know, my experience with this practice and with this practice generally is, you know, the thoughts still come up, the pain still comes up, but it loses its power. The more you're able to experience it, then you're not afraid of it anymore. You're like, yeah, I've experienced that. It's okay. I don't like it, but it's not going to drive me crazy anymore. So, you know, these old wounds, they to the extent that we can allow them to express themselves internally, they lose their power. So, but they're definitely not easy to get rid of. Like, you know, you should definitely not think that some deep, powerful old wound is that you're just going to sort of let it express itself fully and then it'll be gone. It doesn't work that way. Usually. Sorry, Kim, is that okay, Mariana?
Yeah, I guess I was wondering if it's for people, if it's helpful when to identify if the roommate, you know, what age they are, or, you know, that's getting into an intellectual exercise more than it's,
Yeah.
I think it's more wrestling with it rather than just allowing it, right?
Yeah. Mickey definitely doesn't get into content ever at all. Mickey's like, just ask who notices, relax, you know, open to it, and you know, lean back into awareness and notice who's noticing it, and realize that whatever it is, it's not you. It's just a thought. It's just an emotion. You know, it may be a powerful emotion, but it's not you. So as soon as you stop identifying with it, it's much easier to let it express itself and not get caught in the content, not get caught in the story, if you will. Sorry, is that okay, Mariana?
Yeah, thank you.
Kim, you have your hand up?
Oh yeah, I think Mark had his hand up before me.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Mark?
Oh, okay.
No, Mark is saying no.
Yeah, I guess just because, you know, when I hear all you have to do is just experience it, it's like, well, yeah, if it was that easy, wouldn't it be great? Um, just, yeah, noticing the, depending on what the the situation is, and also like how strong or how subtle my resistance is to something.
Mm-hmm.
I've started to notice. Actually, I noticed it this morning when I was doing my sit, and there were so many thoughts coming up, and I'm like, why are there so many thoughts coming up? Until I noticed a more subtle resistance to actually just like sitting itself. I'm like, oh, noticing I actually don't want to be sitting and not starting work right now. And as soon as I acknowledge, I'm like, oh no, I'm not working right now, and I'm just sitting here. Like it's okay. It's okay to just sit and not be working right now.
Yeah.
That's when the thoughts stopped, and I was able to actually like continue on with the meditation. So
Right.
for me, that was it was an interesting moment to notice how subtle that resistance was. And I was like, I've probably actually felt this resistance many times in my sit, and I think this was one of the times that I can actually like feel how subtle it was. So that was really new for me, being able to feel the more subtle resistance. I think otherwise, I wouldn't have even known that there was resistance there.
Yeah. Yeah, and one of the key skills that we're training here is noticing resistance, because most of the time we don't notice that we're resisting. So of course you can't let go until you notice you're resisting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's really important. You know, the other thing I would say though is that you know, the thought, why am I having so many thoughts? That's another thought, right? That's just another, you know, so it's just another thing to let go of, right? Because you ask yourself, why am I having so many thoughts? And then you get trapped, and then you get trapped in this content of figuring out why you're having so many thoughts, right?
Yeah.
Because what Mickey's practice is it's just another thought. I don't have to figure it out. It's a, you know, you ask yourself a question, like your mind, like you have this thought, why am I having so many thoughts? And then there's this, it pulls you into it, and you think, and you try, and you feel like you have to answer the question. And letting go is, you know, is recognizing that it's just a thought, it's just the voice in my head or my inner roommate, and I don't need to pay attention to it. You know, I don't need to stop it, but I don't need to answer it. I don't, it's like commanding me to answer it, and I don't need to do that. I don't need to listen to it.
Yeah, and I guess yeah, actually that's a good point, because you pointed to something there, which is like not wanting this experience of having these thoughts, like not being okay with this current experience, right? Like having this thought of, like having this wanting of how I want my meditation to go. And that includes
Exactly.
not having all of these thoughts.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like taking an issue with this current situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Kim. Thanks. So we're way behind, by the way. So I'm just gonna try and fly through some stuff here. So chapter 3, who are you? And basically what he says here is, you know, you are the one who experiences it. And this is really, in a nutshell, what he's saying, right? Which is, you know, I am the one who sees from back in here somewhere. I look out, and I am aware of the events, thoughts, and emotions that pass before me, right? So this is in, anyway, it's in the book, and it's in the notes, and all. Anyway, so you'll have access to it. But it, you know, we sort of, you know, you ask this question, who are you? And he goes through in the chapter all these different things, ways we identify ourselves, and he basically says, you know, that's all kind of just ideas. It's just what we identify with. But actually, what we are at our core is the witness, if you will, right? The awareness, the consciousness, which we tend to experience from back here somewhere, you know, if you have to locate it in space. And so when he talks about his, like his technique, he calls it relax, release, lean back, right? So when you notice resistance, so the first step is noticing the resistance. When you notice that there's resistance, allow the body to relax, right? And he says, relax the body, relax the will, right? The part of you that is asserting energy to either stop something or hold on to it. Relax the will, and you, the one who's watching, relax, right? And release. So he says, you know, the energy is pulling on you, right? The question comes up, why am I having so many thoughts, right? And it pulls your attention into it, that you have to answer this question. And what he says is it's like tug of war, you know, and you're up against this like team of big, huge football players, and you're just all alone. And there's no way that this rope, like they are so much more powerful than you. But all you have to do is let go of the rope, right? So it's this. So when he says release, what he means is let go of the rope, right? You notice yourself getting pulled into this, you know, this thought that is powered by a strong emotion, right? That says, I need to do something. I need to figure this out. I need to take this action. I need to, you know, and it's pulling on your attention, and you just let go, right? Much easier said than done, I must say. But this is the idea. And then lean back into the seat of awareness. So you can ask who notices, you can say hello in your head, but just become aware that you're the one who's watching the thoughts and emotions and whatever else is going on in your experience. You're the one who's watching. So as soon as you realize I'm the one who's watching, and you stop identifying with the thought, then it's much easier to let go, right? And let go is always like let come, let be, let go. We use this phrase, but people always think that let go means that the thing that I don't like is going to go away. And that's not what we're letting go of. We're letting go of the resistance, right? We're wanting to experience it fully, right? Let me just experience this moment, right? And as Thich Nhat Hanh teaches, and as I've learned, when you really fully experience the moment, it's wonderful. Even when it's painful, it's wonderful. I mean, you have to experience that to really say, okay, yeah, I accept that. But it's true. It's true. And most of the time, it's not a terribly, you know, you're not in terrible pain. Most of the time when you're just, you know, present with what is instead of worrying about things or regretting things, when you're just here with what's going on in the present moment, there's, you know, except when you're sick or in pain, it's actually fine. So that's the third chapter. And the fourth one, the lucid self, and this is really what he's focusing on here, is just the idea that it's our consciousness, we're always aware of something, right? And so in meditation, we practice we practice controlling our attention, right? We put our attention on our breath and body. We put our attention on our thoughts. We put our attention on sound. We open up our attention to take in our whole experience. And we can also turn our attention back on itself and be aware of our awareness, right? And so what happens normally, and the idea is that when you have the meta-awareness, when you're in this seat of awareness, if you will, you're aware of both the object and the subject, because most of the time we're not aware of the subject. We're just kind of, we're just aware of, you know, the emotion, the thought, but we don't have the sense that I'm the one experiencing it. We just identify with the thought or the emotion. And, you know, he says it's like when you're in a movie theater and, you know, sometimes the movie is so compelling that we forget we're in a movie theater. And that's kind of how we live our life. We forget that we're the one who's experiencing this, right? And we're just caught in the movie. And I don't know if any of you have ever had a lucid dream, like a dream where you know you're dreaming while you're dreaming. But you know, that's kind of, he says this is the perfect metaphor. And you know, I've had one lucid dream, and it was very cool. But you know, this is the you know, most of the time we're just not we're not aware. You know, we have a thought that says, why am I having all these thoughts? And we don't say, oh, interesting that I had this thought. Or we don't say, oh, do I want to explore this thought? No, we're just compelled to think about why we're asking so many questions, or why we're having so many thoughts, sorry, right? We just blindly follow the thought, right? Because we don't have that, because our attention is collapsed on the thought. And so when he talks about the lucid self, he talks about opening up the attention to include the subject, to include the awareness that I'm the one who hears the mental talk, I'm the one who feels the emotion, I'm the one who sees whatever's going on. And I don't need to do what the thought tells me, right? And based on the first two chapters, The Voice in Your Head and The Inner Roommate, like, you don't, most of the time it's giving you bad advice, right? Most of the time it's just sucking you into suffering. So lean back is the third step in his method for letting go. And really, it's not even a method for letting go, it's a method for learning to let go. And this is such a key distinction, right? You can never, you know, whatever comes up, you can't just let it go. Sometimes it will, you know, dissipate. Sometimes you'll be able to experience it fully, other times not, right? But what we're really trying to do is learn this method, and not just the method, but like train ourselves so that we actually get used to letting go, get used to relaxing, get used to, you know, releasing our hold on the rope, get used to being aware that we're the ones who are aware, and then it comes much more easily and more naturally, and we're able to let go in more and more situations, right? And a key thing is to start small. Start with the little pulls, the little triggers. You know, it's raining out. There's a big line up. You know, this person said something that wasn't really polite, or they didn't hold the door open for me. You know, like something small, something with a small emotional charge, and something ideally where you don't have to, there's actually nothing that you have to do in response, right? The driver ahead of you is slow and you can't pass them. There's nothing to do but relax. Enjoy the moment, right? I mean, this happened to me today. I was driving back from the cottage, and, you know, it's happened several times today. And, you know, and as soon as I realized, oh yeah, this is an opportunity to learn to let go. And then it changes the whole thing. Instead of being like, you know, why are you going so slow? You know, and Mark knows me well. Anyway, you know, I can be quite reactive. So it's a godsend to instead It's like, oh, thank you for teaching me to learn to let go, right? It just turns the whole thing around. And I've created sort of a worksheet on how to let go, and this will be in the resources. So it sort of goes step by step through Mickey's process, and I did a preamble to it, which is sort of mindfulness for letting go, because noticing resistance, noticing the personal mind. So the personal mind is just the inner roommate or the voice in your head. Personal mind, same thing. It's all the self-referential thinking, right? All the stuff that comes from our patterns of mind, our stored past impressions, our triggers, right? I want this, I don't want that. I like this, I don't like that. They shouldn't do this, they shouldn't do that. It's all the personal mind. And that's the main thing that we're trying to let go of. Yeah, so let's do a little exercise now. And this is a really important one. So I hope you have either a pen and paper, or you can use your computer or whatever, to take a few minutes to brainstorm around the small stuff. So, because this is the key stuff to start practicing with, is this small stuff, like the weather, right? So things like, things that have bothered you the last few days, little things that have bothered you the last few days, or little things that tend to come up regularly, like maybe, your noisy neighbor, or, kind of, anything that tends to come up somewhat regularly. And especially things where there's really nothing to do, right? Your neighbor's noisy, but they're not noisy enough that you can actually complain, that you can actually force them to stop. So you just have to accept it. So, or the weather, or, whatever it might be. COVID, I mean, COVID may be too big, but maybe it's just a low level thing that you can just work with. Anyway, so let's just take, 3-4 minutes to just write down what are the small things that have bothered you in the last few days. When I say small things, I mean small in terms of your reaction, right? That have bothered you in the last few days, or that tend to bother you, that come up a lot, and where there's really nothing to fix, nothing you need to do. Okay, so just finish up if you can, and you can always take time when we're done here at 9 to write some more things down. So does anyone want to share anything that they wrote down, just so we can get a feel for the kinds of small stuff that we might want to work with? Yeah.
So my next door neighbor has an air conditioner that really makes a lot of noise. It's done it for years in my backyard.
Mm-hmm.
So it's next door, it's next to my backyard. It's in between the houses. And you know, since working with you and getting a whiff of this, I just think, it's just the air conditioner. You know, it's like, let it go, like enjoy the birds, listen harder. You know, I don't know. He also has a leaf blower that has the highest decibel. That's on my list too. Highest decibel squeak. And every fall and spring, it is so intense in my ears, you know, but I've been saying, oh, it's my lover.
Yeah, that's great, Deborah. That's great. Let's popcorn out a few of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I spent an hour and a half today with tech help from Bell. You know, I get the tech support because I'm trying to download the photos from my iPhone, which is full. The storage is full. So then after doing all that, and then it turns out they didn't get transferred, like only like a handful did. So anyhow, I'm going to start all over again, I guess, tomorrow.
So tech stuff.
Frustrating.
Yeah. Who here is tech stuff? Anybody?
Totally.
Sorry, and Melanie, you were gonna share something?
Sure. I wrote down a bunch and they were all pretty small, like when I can smell smoke from my neighbors wafting up and I'm a non-smoker. Recently, people not moving away on the sidewalk. So knowing that I usually do, sometimes if my daughter's on her bike, I can't or she can't. Little things, and some it's hard to discern how small they are. So people often don't stop at a stop sign near our house, and so yeah, that makes me really angry. It's actually quite dangerous, but it is also a small thing that I don't have a lot of control over. So yeah, I had some things like that as well. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Okay. So, this, you know, in the homework assignment, the sort of central piece of the homework assignment is to practice letting go of the small stuff in daily life. And so what I find is helpful, because the hardest part of letting go is just recognizing, just having the awareness that, oh, I'm resisting this, right? I'm getting caught in this. So, if you identify in advance, these are some of the things that are likely to pop up, and not too many of them, because, you know, then you'll just, you know, you won't be able to sort of remember them. But, you know, just a handful, just 2 or 3 of them, then you can kind of be on the lookout for those things, and it'll be easier to identify when, you know, when you get triggered and when you go off into resistance. Okay. And just so you'll have this this home practice sheet, and so basically it's just you know, reviewing the how to let go, meditating 15 minutes or more each day, and in the guided meditations there's different lengths. So starting with there'll be one in the 15. This week there's a 15-minute and a half-hour one. And in future weeks, I think there's 3 different lengths that you can choose from. So, and then working with the small stuff. So, and this is just in daily life, right? So it takes no time. It's just trying to be aware of it throughout the day. One other thing I've got in the homework is taking a shower. So the idea is just to watch your thoughts while you're taking a shower. Just notice the voice in your head while you're taking a shower. So,
Lori, did you say watch your thoughts or wash your thoughts?
Very good, Nick. Very good. And then just reading chapters 5 to 7 for those are the ones we'll pick up next week. And then if you like, it's optional, but if you like just journaling either what the voice in your head says or what you notice, like what you're learning in your letting go practice in daily life, you know, one or both of those. Again, that's optional, but it might be very helpful. So that's the home practice, and I'll send an email tonight with the link to everything, and so you'll have that. We're not going to have enough time to do the breakout groups, but I wanted to do just a little exercise with you. So I'm going to share my screen here, and so it's kind of a little meditation. And the idea here is just to sit in the seat of awareness, right? You know, so just finding a nice comfortable position. And just allowing the body to relax, I should say, to whatever extent it wants to. And just to allow, I'm going to show you some pictures actually. And so just as you're looking at the picture, just allow whatever thoughts or emotions come up, and try and be aware that you're the one who's noticing, right? Be aware that I'm the one who's looking at these pictures. I'm the one who's having this emotion. I'm the one who's having this thought. Whatever's going on in your experience, I'm the one who's experiencing it. I'm the one who's noticing. Okay. So and taking a you know, a seat as if you were doing sitting meditation, and just looking at the screen and just sitting in your seat of awareness, knowing that you're the one who's watching, you're the one who's experiencing. And we'll start with the first picture. We'll just do a few breaths in each one. And if you want, you can ask who notices as you're looking at the picture. Who notices? Who notices? So here's the first one. Being aware of who notices. Okay, and allowing this come to an end. So what happened there? What'd you notice? Deborah, yeah?
I noticed that I I I noticed that I was full of joy with the first two and curiosity for the second, but that I got sad on the third one. I felt that person's pain, and I said, "Who's noticing? It's me. It's just me. It's just me. I'm not in pain." But that was like empathizing, or
Yeah. So there were some thoughts going on there as well.
Yeah, I was thinking there are a lot of people in pain right now in the world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And were you aware that you were the one who was noticing?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
So what should that do for me? Just space it so I wouldn't fall into it.
Well, the purpose of this exercise was just to get a sense of being aware of the subject, being aware that you're the one who's noticing, just to get experientially to get a sense of that. Yeah, Min?
I think that if I was not aware of me as a subject, then I would have maybe, like I would have maybe get really emotional when I look at the third picture. But because I was able to aware of me being kind of like the object and not really stuck into being like the subject,
Mm-hmm.
I was able to actually create distance and also space for myself. Like I was really aware, so I was able to kind of get a little bit of, you know, of the distance and not so sucked in. Yeah.
Mm. Deborah, yeah.
I'm just thinking, you know how when we watch television, sometimes they have these horrible visions. They want us to feel that pain when they see these little children in third world countries in a really sad predicament. They want us to feel that pain so that we'll donate.
Sure.
And we have two, you know, sometimes you push it away because you don't want to feel the pain, or you feel the pain and you have to make this, it's a terrible position to feel in. Like if you say, you know, I'm not going to donate right now, and have your reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how does that relate to this awareness of awareness?
Well, if you're aware that they're trying to make you feel this pain, you have to say, well, I'm not in pain. This child is in pain. I'm feeling sad for this child. I don't have to be in pain. I can either do something to help that person's pain or choose not to do something right now to help that person's pain.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, an interesting question is, if you're sitting in the seat of awareness, one of the things I notice is when I'm sitting in the seat of awareness, then I have more capacity to let the emotion flow without restricting it and to fully experience it. Like I remember watching, what's it called? Crazy Rich Asians on the plane, right after, on my way home from Mickey Singer's. And I just decided I'm just going to let all my emotions run. I'm just going to, you know, and I had this emotional roller coaster watching Crazy Rich Asians, and it was fantastic. You know, feeling the sadness, feeling the happiness, feeling the, you know, everything that was going on. And it's, you know, I mean, the movie's intended to manipulate your emotions. And I just was like, yeah, let it go. And it was fantastic. So, you know, sitting in that seat of awareness, I'm not sure that the emotions would be less. In fact, I think they would be more. But I mean, it's something to notice, right? It's something to experience, you know? You know, and again, it says nothing about what you do with it. It says nothing about whether you donate or don't donate, right? It's just like, but how can I experience this fully? So if I experience it fully, it may be that I get so touched and I think I want to give money. Or if I experience fully, it may be like I experience this fully and I have this really powerful emotional experience. And then I say, yeah, they're just trying to manipulate me. That was fun. Next, you know, I mean, who knows where it leads, but I do find that it leads to richer experiences as opposed to, you know, not experiencing or experiencing less in terms of emotions. It's interesting because I find I experience the emotions much more strongly, but I also, they pass through me and I don't, you know, they don't compel me to do anything. it's fantastic, actually. Sorry, Melanie, yeah. And we are at time, so this will be the last question. And then if anyone else has questions, I'll stay and I'm happy to answer them, but we'll just bring the session to an end after that.
It was more of a comment. So it was just that with the third one, I noticed that, so I felt emotional for each of them, but with the third one, I had more thoughts. I sort of couldn't separate myself as easily from like being a mother and having these other layers, like it's a child who needs help and so on. So there were these other layers. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is I just find life is just more rich when you let everything in, you know? Like, you know, I just spent a week on retreat with this guy, this amazing teacher, and he, you know, he said our emotions, he said, that's life. Life is experiencing our emotions. Everything else is just, you know, they're not rich like emotions. Anyway, you can be the judge of that. So thank you everyone for participating tonight. I'm glad you could make it. And and I'm going to, so for the interviews, we're going to start them after week 2 with half of you. So I'll email half of you this week to schedule a time, and the other half I'll email the following week to schedule a time. And yeah, and if you have any questions, I mean, feel free to email me.
How long are the intervals? I mean, interviews.
I schedule them for 20 minutes, although most of them run longer. Okay. It's as long as you want, basically.
You have to have the space, so I just want to.
Have to have the, yeah. I schedule them half hour apart, but I mean they're often not back to back. So you know, if I don't have anything, I don't mind talking more. But it sounds like a long time, but it's not. But I love them, so there you go. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. And so for those who want to go, have a wonderful week. I'll email you later tonight. And if anyone wants to stay and ask a question or share something, feel free.
Thanks, Laurie. Bye, guys.
Laurie.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks.
Yeah, next time.
Bye.
I'm going to turn off the recording.